Very nice to meet you, Kavita ji, on this platform.
Namaste, namaste, everybody. We will start in 4 minutes, but
Yeah.
I have set up everything for the live on FB, Facebook.
So children are coming up.
They are not only children, they are youths and everyone. But the problem is these are working days for every others, seniors, adults, and everyone. And children are, after 2 years of time almost, they have this only summer to enjoy. They are traveling, but because all the sessions are being live streaming, so they can watch them later on their own. And participants are from different time zones, from UK, India, and America, and from other countries, from many other countries. So the time zones clashes. Like in India, it is late in evening, dinner time or anything. So they will join slowly. But everyone, because we have hundreds and hundreds of registrations, so they are watching you live or later.
I think last time also you had one winter session was there. I saw.
Yes.
The winter session was also there.
Yes, there are very few like this lovely girl Pia. She is always in front of the screen and attending each and every session. It is not easy for 8 hours sitting in front of the screen for a girl like her. Even I am tired now in the second week. But she is noting down, taking notes, asking questions, and giving inputs with her charming face. No symptoms of this tiredness. So there are
that is what is youth. One should be very inquisitive, in fact, to understand, to know things. If that kind of a display is coming from the children, definitely they are going to explore more truths from our scriptures.
For the foundation, yes, this is the foundation time.
They have this foundation.
They can explore more in depth. This is just to make them aware, introduction part. We are not taking a deep study of each subject. There are thousands of subjects, and each subject you can spend life for that.
Exactly.
This is only introductory, just to let them have an idea. So, namaste everyone. This is Kavita Vachaknavee, your host and coordinator and director for this summer camp, being organized by Hindu Heritage Foundation of America. It's a wonderful day here, and where I am in New York, it is 12 o'clock noon. I know you all are from different time zones, but I welcome you, especially Rupa Bhati ji. So Rupa Bhati ji, we all welcome you. We are here in our second session of the day. This is our second week and session number 2, day 3 of second week. So each day we are having 4 sessions, one by one, with after 40 minutes break, each session after 40 minutes break. So it's a long schedule. So Rupaji will be talking about a look into prehistoric architecture in Rig Veda and its evolution in Brahmanas and later texts. So I have shared Rupaji's introduction. So we are not, as you see, As you saw in the few last sessions, in all the sessions, we are not giving any introduction during the session, because these are being live streamed. I don't know which information has to go out or not, but we have shared all the introduction essential for this session in the WhatsApp groups. So you can go through that introduction, and Rupaji will be. This was Rupaji. Let me share my experience before you start, because I
Ji.
was looking for someone to talk about this subject, and it was so hard for me. I was explaining so many things because there are references in Ramayana, like when Manthara and Kaushalya's Maharshi Valmiki has mentioned that the building was white colored, and it was almost the size of Kailash Parvat, and it was on height, and they were watching from that height.
Right.
The city is being decorated and cleaned and everything, because it is the time of Rajyabhishek of Sri Ram. So I was, and then Ajanta, Ellora, there are too much to be shared. And during this Mahabharata, there are so many references of building and structure and architecture. So I was just keen to find someone suitable to share that knowledge. And luckily, we found you, and here you are with us. You are most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. And thank you for joining. And the dice is for you now. You can start.
Thank you so much. So my session, children, today will be a little bit more interactive. So from initial slide presentation, I will be interacting with you, not in the end of the session. So we will just talk about that. Why I took prehistoric times, because nobody touches that area, and everyone has this illusion that we had huge palaces like Kailash only, which is described in Ramayana, and many things which a poet may have his liberty to exaggerate few things, because majorly if you want to see or want to read, or you read Rig Veda, you will see that there are flying chariots and the things like that are mentioned. Similar way, when we come to Ramayana, we see that there are Vimanas, and we don't have that clue that whether they used to fly, or uh, was it an imagination of Valmiki to make Ram and Sita reach Ayodhya very fast? So that kind of imagination a poet can always have. But few things that we can understand through these texts is the initial ingredient of the life, what they were leading during that time. And that gives us a sense of, okay, if something like Ashna or something like Drishad or something like stone implement is there in Rig Veda, then how come the chariots were there and they were flying, and three-wheeled chariot or seven-wheeled chariot, something like that. So there comes our inquisitiveness, and that plays a lot of role, and that is how my journey began into understanding the Indological texts. All these Indic texts are somewhere very much reflection of cosmology, and that is why things are like flying, things are being exaggerated also many, many times. That we will definitely try to explore. Probably we are in loss of those texts, but someday or the other, if we find something, we will definitely explore into that. So today I'm going to share you, I think you must be waiting for something very exquisite stone imageries and Shilpa Shastra and the things like that. and the temple architecture and the dwelling architecture, what was all about. But my theme today is to take you beyond that, beyond Ramayana. I think you must have listened to Sri Nileshok's talk where you found that the timeline is going beyond 22K BCE and somewhere more into remote antiquity. So we will try to understand if our architecture was that old or was coming from that age, and we don't know. Still, we don't know, and many are since not reading too much of new researches which are coming in archaeological sense and from the archaeological departments. So today I will be presenting in that way. So let me share the screen. So can you see the screen now? Kavita ji, is it visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, yes, very much.
Okay, great. So if we are talking about the prehistoric time, then what is the most important thing in the architecture would come into our mind? And that is bhur. Bhur means the major vastu, the major thing which is required into building any kind of a dwelling. And that is nothing but the mud or the soil. So the Sanskrit Vastu Shastra begins with that um, how to look into the types of soil and how to do the soil testing. These are the basic origin of earth architecture. So that is what we will discuss today, and how it is relevant in the prehistoric times and how it would have been during those times, which we see in a very different perspective, like due to Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana or B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata. So it is something very different from that, and we will try to explore that. So today I will be uh, making you understand that initially, or even in the rural areas today, we use adobe, wattle daub, cob, and rammed earth kind of architecture. And this is called as vernacular architecture. And now in today's time, we are again going back to this earth architecture to find out if how much we can live in more sustainable kind of environment. So I would like to ask from the initial slide presentation only that what is modern human behavior? Can anyone answer? We are very much modern humans, and probably during 3000 BC also they were much modern. Probably in 5000 BCE also they were much modern, and during Ramayana times they were much modern. So what is modern human behavior?
I think modern human behavior, one type would be that mainly humans, we always want to make sure that the history is engraved, or we can build something that can last forever. So something like that, that's from what I have learned is that many humans, we try to make everything last forever. Like even the common building, modern architects or modern people, we are always trying to make sure that that building stands and forever, so that history can be seen without it getting lost.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Um, exactly if we want to understand a human like a Homo sapiens, then what could be the modern human behavior for them? Let's go beyond little more into deeper antiquity, like 12,000 BC or more than that, 13,000, 15,000, 20,000 BC. How would you look at Homo sapien being having the most modern behavior like us, like what we do today? You must have watched some of the videos, like a few of them are living a nomadic life, and they are eating almost raw mm, animals or something like that, or the fruits, or uh, these I think whatever is there in forest, so kind of forest dwellers. Would you think that they have some kind of a modern behavior just like us? If we are left in a forest, how would we behave? Like, will it be like modern human behavior, going climbing a tree and fetching the fruit or something like that? Can you count it in a modern human behavior?
I think so, because mainly if you're out like in a forest and your main goal is to stay alive, right?
Right.
So you would go, maybe you, like nomads, maybe we would go up a tree to get a fruit, or we would go searching for fruits and berries and all that stuff. Maybe we could.
Exactly, exactly. So for the modern human behavior, the most important things that, as you said, that something should last forever. So if you go to the Paleolithic times, you will find that all those stone implements are still found, and you must have read in the geography and history also that during the Paleolithic times they were using the stone implements to, they were using it as a hand axe, and likewise they were using these things to kill the animal, or to have the fruits into pieces or something like that. So this is all what we also do in our kitchen. So it is almost, the brain capacity is almost similar. They were also doing the same thing, but without metal. And we are doing the same thing. We are cutting, chopping, doing same things, what those humans or Homo sapiens used to do. And so, and still their implements are also lasting forever, on the Acheulean culture, and parallel to that is Suanian culture and Atiparakam, where all the stone implements are found. uh, Continued civilization is found from say 75 74,000 BCE, where we find that after Toba explosion also, the life continued, probably with less vigor and much less population probably, but the modern human behavior continued, and they were using these implements, and you must have read in geography as well as history, your classes. So the modern human behavior is something like, from the middle and upper Paleolithic times. You will find that burial, they used to do fishing, they used to have figurative art, cave paintings, petroglyphs, dendroglyphs, and figurines. Then systematic use of pigments they were using, and they were also using jewelry for decoration or self-ornamentation from lakhs of years. Isn't that interesting? That still we are using these things, and those things were used by them also. So they were using bone materials as, I think, knife or tool, something to dig upon or something like that. What we do with metals today, we almost shaped our metals in those shapes only which were found in the stone implements. Then they started transporting these resources, like some of the rivers, like our Ganges, Ganga River. Its plain is very muddy, but they wanted the stone implements, so they brought the stone implements from Balan, reservoirs, and from there a lot of kilometers they used to travel, and they wanted to live by the Ganges plain because of the rice cultivation and things like that. And we can see that the blade technology also came. So it is not that the metal sickle can only cut the crops. Also the stone implements, the blades, the stone blades can cut the crop. So they were using these things. So just instead of the modern kind of things, designer kind of things which we are using, they were using in stone things. So we see this diversity and standardization and regionally distinct artifacts from different regions. We see a different, so distinctness is also maintained. The herds where they could have the fire, and many composite tools. So basically, when we define a modern human behavior, all these things come in. But these are very much from the upper Paleolithic and middle Paleolithic times when they were using all these things, and even from before, because Sogdian culture is coming from 5 lakh year old, and Parakam also is coming from that age. So it's almost very much identical, where the stone tools are also very similar, but the southern India was having more better microliths during that time. So the modern behavior in India was from 5 lakh years before present. So I'm creating an imagery that how even architecture from prehistoric times was working. So no exquisite Shilpa Shastra today, but we are talking something about mud. That is the most primary thing which can be used by Homo sapiens to create something. So the 3 essentials for modern human. What the 3 essentials for modern humans? What are the 3 things?
I think one might be food.
Yeah,
Water.
exactly. Food, clothing, and
Water.
what we are talking about today,
Shelter.
shelter. So the 3 things are food, clothing, and shelter. And these things we did not read for the modern human behavior. So the scientists have decided the modern human behavior only till those stone implements and the things. Now these 3 things also get included. But when? When food became the necessity, kind of storing them, when the clothing became so one of the most necessity, and of course shelter, because if the population was less and Paleolithic conditions were very Pleistocene time, during the Pleistocene times, the temperature were 4 to 5 degrees down from today's time. It was in minus. So it was most amiable condition when the humans were living. So they didn't need too much of clothing or shelter during those times. But as we go to the higher altitude, we see that the temperature is more dropping type, and the need came for clothing. So also for shelter. But the population was also increasing. So what did they do? The rice was growing all over India. Many of the crops were growing all over India in wild form. So what was the basic requirement by the Homo sapien? So that was something they wanted to domesticate things. And from there, we came into the most important things, 3 essential for modern human: food, clothing, and shelter. So we discussed today the shelter part, that is Vastu Shastra. And why this art became the need of art, that we will discuss. So the most important thing to discuss today is कि ये need कहाँ से आया? Why the need arose? So if we see the pattern, during 26,000 BCE, the monsoons started to take charge and the pattern of rains started increasing. Before that, we see that Rigveda has only 3 to 5 season pattern. In that 5 season pattern, the Hemant and Shishir, these two didn't get differentiated. So it is very easy for us to locate the Rigveda before 25,000 BC. And we see that the monsoonal pattern was increasing, and that kind of suktas and mantras also got included, and we can see in Rigveda when it was getting included. So to understand Rigveda, or to understand the Vastu Shastra from where it emerged in Rigveda itself, so we will try to understand where it got coincidentally together. Because monsoonal patterns were increasing, so shelter became much necessary for humans. So it was not very easy for them to be completely a cave-like people. They needed new thing because population was increasing, and there must have been rifts also. So slowly and gradually, the area was increasing. So the area of habitation was increasing. And this is recorded in one of the text. What does it say? Now we shall explain the reason for excessive rains on the earth. And this is coming from Narada Shilpa Shastra. So there is a dialogue. So he says that in the past, at the beginning of Eon, having seen that while the surface of earth was intensely heated up by the sun, all the waters in the sand, rocks, and rivers had been lost. Being requested by the royal clan, Bhargava, the great sage performed a severe austerity and chose the boon of rain now here. So we already saw in Rigveda from where, in that pattern we saw from where the monsoons were taking charge. It was almost like from 26 to 22 K BCE. From there, the monsoons were increasing. And then Bhargava, the great sage, performed a severe austerity and chose the boon of rain now here from the Lord of Clouds. Pleased that deity prompted stressful cloud Avartaka, capable of making everything into a sheet of water. On account of the massive distressing sheet of rain, accompanied by frightful rumbling and surging flashes of lightning, the dwelling places broke and became invisible. So can you imagine this whole imagery? Can you just make a picture in your imagination? That Narada is saying that dwelling places broke and became invisible. So something so harsh, the rains had come, that all the citizens with their bodies battered by the extremely cold winds moved about along. So this gives us an imagery that there is a memory that rains did come in a very fearful way, and it washed away whatever was before, whatever dwellings were built before. And that can only happen with the mud and the bricks, the sun-dried bricks also, the cob, the adobe, and these kind of mud architecture, the vernacular architecture. Even in today's time, if you see the rural areas which have the floods, suddenly you will see all those hutments and everything is washed away. So this memory also says the same thing, that their bodies battered by the extremely cold winds moved about. And before that it is saying that dwelling places broke and became invisible. Okay. So now let me take you to the world of mud architecture. So it is still prevalent in our days. And this is Ikara House in Northeast Indian Indian architecture, that is Vatilna. You can see the whole of the building is made of wattle and down, and after that the thatch roof is applied. And this thatch roof is almost very similar all over the world. If you want to see the European styles, or if you want to see the Australian or anywhere, even if you want to go to the Amazon deep forested area, there also they use this kind of thatch and they make the roof in that manner. This is a picture taken by me only from Dhauladhar. This is stone and adobe, both are being used here. And the modern materials, also the slate which is found there, the local materials are always used. In the insect you see that gond, this is cop, and this is very much similar in all over India. You can see the rural areas, they built it in cop kind of mud architecture. The mud and straw are mixed, and that is being used for creating a wall. The similar condition you can see in Rajasthan, and similar bhungas are found in Kutch also, where I live. And these are basically made in round shapes. So why round? Can you imagine why not square? Why Mayamata also gives us a triangle or a round kind of construction, where today's Vastu Shastris, if you go to them, they say, oh, this is not good, round structures are not good. So what makes these people make these hutments in round shape? They make it because the wind is very fast flowing there, and to ward off these winds and to have a proper so that the structure is not broken from the corners. So for that matter, they developed this kind of wall, circular wall, so that the centrifugal force is there, and these are not easily broken by the winds. Same is the case with Kutch. We have a very high wind velocity here. So to counter these high wind velocity, the structures became round in shape, and this is not found in southern India or even in the eastern India, probably not also in northern India. But basically only in Rajasthan and Gujarat you will find these kind of structures. But the ingredient was definitely mud, so they were also using mud. And this is the very simple house from Odisha, which is again made of mud and brick, and this is a hybrid houses. So what was common in above all? The most important ingredient for the dwelling, the most common thing is the mud. And this earth construction, don't fall from your chairs. This technique is at least 45,000 years old in India. So I will take you to the mud tour, the history. This earth construction technique is at least 45,000 years, and one of the site, which is called Rivat site number 55 on Sushoma Rigvedic river. So this wall footing is was found there, and when it was carbon dated, it was found that it is 45,000 years old. It is the oldest structure built by human or Homo sapiens, if we want to say, but they knew some kind of an architecture. They knew some kind of how a footing should be done for a wall. And this comes from 45,000 years back. Interestingly, you will not find the construction technique or the brick making technique in Rig Veda, but in the later text you find that. So this is something coming from the prehistoric time, and in fact, because of all the conditions which I have found, I can place that this is the Son river, which is known as Sushoma Rigvedic river. They knew the kind of construction technique, and they knew the architecture, a basic architecture that had already begun. So in Ramayana, you come across many passages, but you also come across Maharajanganaham Shuraha Pravishantu Mahodaya. And this is saying about an open court, a court where probably the mud flooring were also used, and such kind of courts were mentioned in Ramayana. In Ramayana, it has also a mention of Saptapadi palace, such huge that the kind of tapering of those palaces were imagined like Mount Kailash. And that is mentioned that after coming to those balconies, they used to have the balconies also of those places, and they used to stand there and visualize the whole of the city Ayodhya. So this is something very interesting to note, that Saptapadi palace were present during Ramayana times. But then we also just read that from the Shilpa Shastra, if you remember from the earlier slide, where I told that at the advent of much of the monsoons, all the dwellings were washed away. Nothing was there. And there was a need again for reconstruction, construction of sites. That goes very well. Why we don't find anything, probably due to two things. One thing is that all the cities are having the continuous civilization. So India is having almost a continuous civilization everywhere, be it Kashi or Ayodhya or Pataliputra, Magadha, whatever state you take up, the Pandyans, the Cholas, all those cities are thriving cities and didn't have any break of civilization. So it is very difficult to find something archaeologically on those places. But supposingly if they were made of mud, and we already had the Holocene time, so it is very much impossible for us to understand how a Saptapadi palace would have been appearing, how it would look like. So behind this, I gave an imagery of one of the palace from Near East, and its working details, and its I think I should say are so ancient. You can see the foundation there, and you can compare the Rivat site, which I just showed you, the stone foundation. You can just compare that they also need the stone foundation. So for the mud architecture also, you will be requiring the stone foundation. And the similar thing was happening during Ramayana times also. It appears to me, as it appears to me. Now, Ramayana has a mention of Swarnamayi Lanka. So it was all golden hued. What kind of hue would Swarna mean? It is the reddish hue, yellowish hue. Hiranya becomes almost reddish, something like ushas, something like the dawn color or dusk colors, what we feel during the early morning and the late evening times. If you see the clouds, the colors are quite reddish. And that is what Ram is telling to Lakshmana, that api swarnamai lanka name rochate. Janani janma bhumishcha swargadapi gariyasi. So that was nothing but a red chalk or kind of a red mud, which could have been used in the south, where the mud was very much rich in iron content and magma contents. So these kind of colors were very much prevalent in the southern area. So probably they were talking about this, but we have compared it to the gold, the metal gold. Now in Yemen, that is Near East, the adobe with mud and lime plaster, you can see these buildings. They are somewhere 7 to 8 stories, somewhere 10 stories and 14 stories also. And this is a UNESCO site. It is 2000 years old, and it has not been distracted by any of the atmospheric or climatic conditions. It is as it is there. You will also find these kind of mud architecture even in China, which was demolished for new, I think, trans highways. That was also a UNESCO site, but it was destroyed. Now coming to the Saraswati and Indus civilization. So here we find that we are now using sun-dried and kiln bricks, and these bricks, Ishtaka, are mentioned in Shatapatha Brahmana and other Brahmanas also. And that is very interesting to understand that they were making Agni Chayana and these yagnas, where they were creating the chiti and Vedis. So that was made with the help of kiln bricks, and probably before the precursor was sun-dried bricks. So we were into making bricks from a very long time in deep antiquity. So this is the Agni Chain and Sulbur Sutra adobe kiln bricks, which were used during this Shain Echeti is from Purola, Uttarakhand. This is the archaeological site we found, and it's one of the oldest surviving things that had been found till to this date. Another example is from Han Dynasty, where they used these kind of adobe, that is the sun-dried bricks put together and mortared together. And you can see this great wall of China, which was made with the rice, husk, and the residues as used as binding materials and whatnot. Everything was used in this. If you go to Musgum, Africa, there is a very interesting earth architecture, which now we can relate with our shikharas of temples. So something very interesting, which is still prevalent to this day. Probably this was the kind which was a precursor to our situation in India. And we find that one of the Gandhara, Pakistan's relief shows from the Buddhist architecture that shows a leaf thatched dome and the cornices. It is a journey from Kuti, that is from Griha Sutra we find that first temple was known as Kuti, and it is Kataghati Kuti. So Kata is nothing but straw, so straw built shrine temples, and the journey can easily be seen to Nagara temples. So Nagara temples have beautiful shikhara, Kandariya Mahadev temple and other temples if you want to see. So Nagara, why Nagara name? Because it comes from Nagar. That means city. So city architecture were now becoming distinct from the rural architecture, and more prominently coming post Kushan dynasty times, Ashoka times, when things were changing from wood and mud to towards rock cut architecture or towards stone. So when Han Dynasty began with rammed earth and Near East with adobe, our Indus Valley civilization already started its construction earlier with kiln bricks. Probably the invention was due to high rainfall post 8000 BCE. By 6000 BCE, India mastered on copper extraction. So we have to understand other things also, the kind of domestication of food and fruits or the crops like cucumber and these things. Everything are there in being researched by scientists, that when these things became domesticated. And before domestication, it was in abundance and we were using it as it is. only when the advent of increase of population, this has to happen. New inventions has to happen, and always these are the necessities that bring us to modern inventions and whatnot. So the world of Prajapati, this is the first architect which we know in the Indic scriptures. So Vedic tradition accepts Shilpa Shastra as subsidiary to the Atharva Veda. So it is very interesting to note that during Ramayana times also, only 3 Vedas are being said. In Ramayana, you will find that Rig, Sam, Yajur, Trai. It is always said 3 Vedas are there, and we don't find the Atharva as a distinct word there itself in Ramayana. So it appears that Atharva Veda happened post Ramayana, and during Ramayana times, these 3 Vedas were completely known, and the 4th was yet to emerge as a separate Veda. So Atharva Veda is almost like very much alchemic type of or telasma type of things, and there are so many kind of invocations, even to even to um, even to kill your worms inside your intestine. You have mantras. So it was going a little bit of esoteric in the sense, whatever the uh, medicines they were using, but they were also using with the help of mantra, and they thought that these mantras will be very effective for killing even the worms inside your intestine. Uh, so that kind of a thing was happening, and then Shilpa Shastra and Vastu Shastra Upanishad, these were also getting attached with the Atharva. So kind of um, the imagery of Vedic cosmos, which was getting reflected in the Vastu Purusha Mandala, or how to create a dwelling. Uh, the other stream was also developing, and the story also began that from Prajapati, in the beginning of creation, from Prajapati to Narada, from Narada to Maya, from Maya to Vaishravana, and from Vaishravana to Pipalada. So all these generations were coming up, and they were carrying these canons of Vastu Shastra with them. In the Matsya Puran also, its origin goes to Bhrigu, Atri, and Atri is the most important one, who are the first observer of eclipse and noting the eclipse in a very proper way, and they showed how the eclipses happen. So they were more or less, they were Bhrigu and Atris, and they were more or less the best astronomers of their times. Then Vashishta, Vishwakarma, Maya, Narada, Nagnajita, Vishalaksha, Purandara, Brahma, Kumara, Nandisha, Shaunaka, Garga, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Shukra, Brihaspati, they were all carrier of this Vastu Shastra canon. And Hindu Vastu Shastra can be divided into many of the other different sects. So Manasara, Mayamata, Samaranga Sutradhara, Vishwakarma Vastu Shastra is a different thing. Then Shilpa Ratna, Kashyapa Shilpa, and they came up with the different ideas of dwellings and different ideas of temple constructions and different modes of with the help of, I think, in the regional ways, they divided the architecture in that form. So at the first Vastu, the word appears in Rigveda itself, and it comes in the 8th mandala, where Napata Shavaso Maha Sunu Dakshasya Supratu Sri Pradhanu Isho Vastu Adhi Shitaha. So Vastu Adhi Shitaha. So we not only predate in kiln brick knowledge, we also predate in climatology with any other civilization. So to understand Vastu Shastra, it is not an esoteric science. but it has a science. So if it says that your kitchen has to be in southeast, so sun rises from east, it bends towards south and goes from southeast, and then it bends towards west. So it covers east, southeast, southwest, and then west. So the basic thing you will understand is that during those times when we used to have the dwellings in thatched roof and mud architecture, during the monsoon times, this area will always be very dry, even in the evening, late evening and night time. Why? Because the whole day that area was experiencing the sun rays. And for that reason, your burning of coal or the cow dung, whatever they use for the food material, the fire, would not get moist. So the moisture content will be dried up. So that was the reason they used this region, southeast region, as a kitchen area. And likewise, northeast, that was always cool. So they wanted from north to northeast, they used to have the well pit, a small pit, so that they can have the water there, because they didn't have that time, probably not the pottery. So pottery culture came in a very later times. But before that, they used to have the pit and they used to have the mud lining, so that they can have the water uh, preserved there. So likewise, they were using the areas and they defined it accordingly. And they also used to have the deities of these uh, square boxes. So 45 deities are mentioned in one of the Purana. So it is very interesting to note that all these small boxes were having the deities, and each box was having some kind of a function during those times, and they were very particular about that. And you will find that there is a mention of Aksha in Rig Veda, that means 100 eyes. So from the thatch, they would be the rays of light would come to them, and it would appear like they are having hundreds of eyes, which are looking at them. So these are the concepts we need to understand why these are mentioned in Rig Veda, or what is the kind of prehistoric architecture that was going on. And uh, you will be very amazed to note that one of the box belongs to Sugriva also here. So that is something very interesting, that goes back to at least 12,000 BCE, during the Ramayana times, which has been uh, found by discovered by Sri Nileshwarji. So one can go and listen to his videos about Ramayana times and Mahabharata times. They are amazing videos. In Taittiriya Brahmana, there again comes a reference of astronomy and architecture together. So what it says, Yatha Shalai Pakshasi Evam Samvatsaraha Pakshasi. So they were making two rooms in a small dwelling, where the central wall was there, and then there were two walls on the either side, so that they can have the ridge and they can have the um, thatch over those. I think whatever kind of roof they developed, they had this. So the just like the Samvatsar used to have two paksha. One is the when the sun is in the northern hemisphere and when the sun is in the southern hemisphere. Similarly, the dwelling was made. One was having the face of southeast and one was having the face of northwest, with the help of east facing, west facing, north and south. So the cardinal points they used to get from equinoxes and solstices, and that comes as an astronomy reference. Like they're using synonym for Samvatsar, that is the year, um, where you will see that after autumnal equinox to vernal equinox, when the sun is in the southern hemisphere, that time it makes one room, and the other room is from northern, when the sun is in the northern hemisphere, from vernal equinox to autumnal equinox. And this is the kind of diagrams they used to make. And something very interesting, this is Borneo people, and almost late 18th century photograph, you can see that they are barely wearing anything, but they are very profound astronomers. So they know the time solstice is happening. They know the time when the equinoxes are happening, and during that time only they could have used it as a compass for the exact direction, because on the equinox only you will find the true east. So for the whole year, they used to wait for this muhurta or this time, so that they can locate the exact true east and west, and so that they can make their dwellings. So the best time of making a dwelling on earth, anywhere on earth, is the equinox day, because that day without compass you can find out the true east and true west with the help of a gnomon and its shadow. And the same concept, when it came into the stone architecture, when it came into the temple architecture, they used these fundamentals of astronomy, the days when the deity will be having this direct sunlight. So this was something, a magical play that was happening with the help of architecture only. But it was so magical that these places became tirthas, and people used to go to see this magic, to visualize this magic, that how the temple of deity is experiencing the sunlight that day. So they used the solstice days and the equinox days, and that also became a marker for the year beginning. And this is something very interesting, a magical play they used to have. Now, to understand, as I already said, that Vedic theory of cosmos, symbiotic relationship between the sky and the earth, they used to create a Vedi, Chitri, Kund, Yupa, Shala inside the house. Yatha Shalai Pakshasi Tatha Samvatsara Pakshasi, that we read just in the Taittiriya Brahmana. Similar way, they used to have this hearth, that is the most modern behavior, how to have a fire inside a house so that they can keep that fire alive for the whole year, so that they can cope, and whatever they want to do with the fire. They used to do yajna and everything, and they wanted that fire to be there for most of the time. For that reason, they created these Vedis, and they used to do the rituals, and those rituals were going on and on for all the year round. It also shows that the shape of Vedi shows that they have this memory from deep antiquity about the solstice and equinoxes, shadow lines. So during the solstice time, when the shadow goes towards the right extreme or towards the left extreme, you can understand that this is the time of summer solstice or winter solstice. And in the mid, uh, what you see, the straight line, it is the line of equinox. So that only that day you can have the true east and true west. And the shape of Vedi suggests that this was happening on equator. Something which we have lost in deep antiquity, that has been retained as an mnemonic in this Vedi. So this I have shown you, and this Vedi is still, till to this date, is made of mud. And this is a simple way of remembering that initially it was not the kiln thing that was happening. It was the mud, the direct mud they were using to create the Vedi, the hearth. When we were using these Mayasurs, Surya Siddhanta, and this was the paper I and Nilesh ji, we both presented in Oxford University. And there we showed that how the ephelian and perihelion conditions of Surya Siddhanta takes us to that epoch. And I think he has explained this in his talk also this time. During that time, when we were using sophisticated armillaries, the West was locating North Pole by laying down and taking their arms upright towards and pointing it towards north. So we were that advanced from 12,000 BC, even from before. Now, let's compare how it must have emerged into the prehistoric times, Homo sapiens, how they created these mud houses. So there must have been some precursor to that. No? It appears to me that ant hills, and if you compare Shibam's mud cluster of Yemen, you will see that it is nothing but a large scale, human scale ant hills only. So we mastered, in fact, making mortar and creating cob and adobe and all of these things from these little creatures. And these are the inspirations. So you see, they also created in the rock cut architecture also to get rid of all harsh conditions which were happening during the Holocene times, younger dryas and last glacial maximum. Those were the times when the temperatures were going below what the normally they used to have. Then too much of rainfall. These all things made us very firm to have a better dwelling, and every time we were like um, getting ahead of something which was already created behind. And the earliest dwellings, they were known as Nalabhittika, the reed hut. They used the mud and reeds to create wattle and dog kind of a thing. And this is coming from the Sanskrit kudya, Pali kuda. And the Sanskrit kutanka gives these names, and these names are retained in Buddhist texts. So when I was doing architecture, when I was studying the Hindu architecture, it was almost like I was reading only Buddhist architecture. Now I realized that Hindu architecture was nothing but we were reading something about very deeply about Buddhist architecture. But whatever Buddhist architecture was retained in those texts are nothing but the Hindu architecture only. Because during that time, these were the things that were prevalent, which were used by the Buddhists, Jains, and even Hindus. So this Parnashala gives us the idea that mostly the reeds, the mud, the thatch, and basically the stone foundations were used. And this was used from what we have seen, Rivat site 55, which was having a stone foundation from 45,000 BCE. Now we have the most ancient wall footing architectural detail from Rivat site, which is now in Pakistan. Now these earliest dwellings and shelters, which you can find in Toda hut and these kind of architecture, they started getting converted into rock cut architecture because of the necessity, of course, and because of the harsh climate. And they converted into rock cut architecture because now we were having more better tools and metal tools so that they can use it and chisel the rock, and that had already begun. And what we see is in Sachi or Barhut or anywhere during the Chandragupta, Maurya and Ashoka times, they already started it to convert into rock cut architecture. But still, Chandragupta Maurya's and Ashoka's, his own palaces and things were made in timber and reeds, mud, and these were the basic things which were used till 500 CE. And after that, only a few things got more sophisticated, and we see that Mamalapuram stone architecture was coming up. So when we read about these mud architecture, we try to understand that what kind of sandy clay soil should be used for these buildings. And these are going on and on from 45,000 BCE at least. So thus, Vastu Shastra tells us that type, smell, color, sound, everything mattered. And if one wants to go into deep studies, one can definitely go and look for the research papers, and they can read there how Vastu Shastra has mastered. They had mastered all kind of types of clays, and who should be having those clays, what kind of a psychological impact a kshatriya will have with the red clay, or uh, a brahmana will have with white clay, kind of thing. So it's very interesting to understand the deeper philosophy of Vastu Shastra through our Indic texts. So finally, we find that mud was the basic ingredient, and the Hindu architecture had been consistent from time immemorial. If you look at this graph which I have created, this is very interesting to understand what kind of brahmanas and different texts were recording things, and that can be found, and we can place them with the help of astronomy. That is what is said like. The most important evidence which can take back to the deeper antiquity, because that is the only truth in any of the texts, which we are now trying to explore with the help of Voyager simulation, and we get back to those times, those earlier times. And it is now have become very easy, because those people were not noting these things like Ramayana or Mahabharata or say Rig Veda itself. So they were noting few things, and that is giving us the clues where to place them. So this is my work, and I take much of the, I would like to thank, in fact, it's my privilege to work with Sri Nilesh Orji, and we are doing these researches for different texts together. Here I have tried to connect you with the continuous civilization that is going on and on Indian soil, and this gives us an imagery that how old even the Vastu Shastra can be. Thank you. If you have any questions, I can take them. I will be happy to take them. Thank you, Kavita ji.
Thank you very much, Rupa ji. It was so eye-opening for everyone. And I believe everyone was listening carefully and paying attention, taking notes. You would like to go further personally, or go to the by going to the libraries and contacting the right people and everything. And see, because as we all see nowadays, how all these libraries are being burned out, bombed out, and whatnot. So, but the tradition in Indian culture, Hindu culture, we were kept them safe. Everything was kept safe just by passing to the next generation by mouth or by different.
This was the oral tradition, of course.
Yes. So the language proves, see the each word, how the two liner of mentioning about 10 Vastu Shastrajyas have explained who were they, what were they doing, and this whole Vastu Shastra, not the Vastu thing which we nowadays think, laws change the direction, it will be more fruitful for us or not. This, actually, they are well aware. Like I just remember one example. Once I was on a lecture tour in Thailand, and the host his bed was on the head was on the west side. And my son, he was only 7 years old. He said, no, no, this is wrong. The head should be on south side or east side. So they were surprised. They said, oh my God, a small boy talking like this. So, but these things should be communicated to our next generation. This is very essential. And ours was a small attempt on this in this direction. And thank you for contributing to this. And I would love if someone would like to add something, to ask something, or to write something. Rupaji is here to answer your questions, to queries, or anything. You can go through the chat, Rupaji.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them. Interesting.
And see the word Nagar, how this Vanar and Nagar, see, Vanars were not actually monkeys only. Whoever lives in the Vanas, in the forest, they all are Vanars. So Hanuman and Sugriv, they were not monkeys. In Ramayana, when Sri Ram first he met with Sugriv and this and then, and Lakshman was not happy, and then Sri Ram says, no, his gesture of he was talking about Hanuman and his gesture, and he mentioned that by looking at his face, I think he's Char Ved Ka Jyata, ki Hanuman seems like he is well
versed in all the Vedas.
Yes. So these are the things, each word
explains a lot.
Yes.
Hanumanji knew almost 9 languages.
Yes.
And in fact, Sita also knew the Deccan, some of the Dravidian languages, it appears to me. I should not say Aryan and Dravidian, that is a very huge debate and divide. But there were regional languages definitely, and Pandyan king is mentioned in Ramayana. And one of my find about Agastya rising on Chidambaram latitude that takes to 13,000 BC, and again hopping on that latitude and again seen on the higher latitudes, it takes to 9,500 years. And you will be amazed that this is the memory the Tamilians and the Keralites, they have till to this date, they have this memory that the first Sangam period was happening during 9,500 BC. So by this date, they remember, and for 4,500 years, the first Sangam period went away. So this is something astronomical and geographical also. Because of that only, the Agastya Malai range, the whole range is remembered as Agastya is seen from that range. So something, our geographies also hold those histories, like Udak Mandalam, Uti. Nowadays we say Uti. If you say Udak Mandalam, that means the star is hopping from that latitude and now is seen from the higher latitudes. So it is talking about Agastya, and Agastya Malai range that completes there only, and after that the Agast starts moving upside on the upper latitudes. So something very Kurukshetra for the sake of the name. Kshetra means the field. So the first the Kuru king who came to that land and started cleaning those land and started the first, I think, first agriculture because of the Kshetra comes on Kurukshetra. So before that it was known as Brahmavarta. Before that it had many different names, Thaneshwara and other names. And we don't find this name in Ramayana. We don't find the Kurukshetra, but Rohtak, we know that Rohtak is there and it is very adjacent to Kurukshetra. So these names bear so much of history.
Yeah, no, like Meerut. Meerut is originally Maharashtra. It was built by May. He was a great architect. So these things need to be
Again revisited.
educated. Yeah. So unfortunately, our library, like Nalanda library, was burning for months and months and months. All our manuscripts were burned out, and whatever knowledge was with people personally saved in their boxes or somewhere, or so it was in their mind or in their memory, whatever. So they tried to pass it to the other people. So in this process, many things were lost.
Many
And,
things were lost.
yeah. So it was great to have you with us for this
Thank
session.
you so much.
It's a great contribution to our summer program. And everyone, please, would you like to say something? Don't you have any question to ask?
I thought that this presentation was very, very interesting, and I love the evidence behind it because like the whole timeline, it was like, it was really, really cool to see that the ancient Hindus, they were really smart, and like scientifically they were up to date on like eclipses and everything. So I found that really cool that back then this was still there.
And I would like to, I would prefer to request each and every one of you, if you go to India, try to visit Ajanta and Ellora. People don't believe, मतलब कि वो पर्वत कैसे काटे होंगे, and where all that the rest of them, where they have thrown it, how many what was the machinery and the vehicles. You can see, if even if you are constructing a building, a flat, there is a lot to be removed. So so you cannot believe the structure without any joint.
Exactly.
And underground seepage system, and it's a lot more. And go to Hyderabad, you try to visit Golconda Fort, see the system there.
Exactly.
If you are standing in the lower area, you can talk to the person who is on the uppermost area of that fort.
Upper corner of the
Yeah.
fort. Quite 2-3 kilometers away, I think.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
spot is too far away, and they can easily communicate with just some claps, and with that sound they used to communicate. That's very interesting, of course. And whatever you see in even Ajanta or even the Nataraja Murti, they are now in metal, but it appears they were all made in wood also at some point of time, which was now replicated in metals when they came, or when they had better tools, so they could chisel out the rocks. But before that, they were happening in wood also, but somehow those were destroyed or probably got destroyed.
And in Ajanta especially, you can see those painting with natural colors.
Yeah.
You cannot believe these
In
are
hues
still,
and
yeah.
pigments. And if you go to Bhimbhatka, there you will find those pigments they were using for last 35,000 years. That's something very amazing. And you will see those horses being domesticated kind, which is defying all those researches being going on by our world-renowned researchers who say that domestication of horse is only 8,000 or 6,000 BC. So something very interesting to understand the Indian philosophy and Indian culture. If you are reading so many Ashwa and so many Go, so probably the Vashishta, the Vishwamitras, the cow, the Kamdhenu, all those things take us back to deep antiquity, where probably we domesticated not in a very proper way, but we started domesticating things, um, animals, and even crops, food. In whichever area you want to research, you will find India is almost like uh, is the origin point. You know?
Really, really. I would love to request everyone. There is a channel by a guy, I don't remember his name, but I will try to find his name. He has done a lot in this regard. He is going to each and every temple and structure, and you cannot believe he has thousands and thousands of followers, millions of followers on YouTube. And he is explaining the science behind each and every structure, the artwork, the science, and the reasoning. Why? Is because there are some very they actually going to his channel, watching to all of his video one by one. It will really be eye-opening experience for each one.
Definitely.
So thank you very much, Rupa ji. You did a
So
great
much.
job, and we feel very glad and proud to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Same here.
Thank you ji. If you have to say something, participants, kindly unmute yourself. Praveen.
Hello,
Mohan.
ma'am.
Yes, Praveen Mohan.
Yeah, it's Praveen Mohan.
Namaste.
Yes, namaste.
It's showing us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will share.
And,
I will share his link.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm gratified.
And yeah, thank you for this great session, ma'am. Because other session somehow I could not attend. So today I attended. It was really interesting that India has got all kind of the greatest architectural marvels, including the aeronautical designs also. The Ravana had that flying chariot, which he had that he had stationed in mountain. Yeah. So all these things, and in Mahabharata also he had all those things, and using it aerodynamics and things like that. Looking from our text. That's what I got one video today. I was stressed trying to see. So most of the things are learned from our scriptures and texts, and Westerners are using their researchers and doing it. So that's really interesting, and looks like we are far ahead. And I also read something that is Krishna's head. Sorry, Krishna's heart is made up of some metal or something, and in Puri it is kept there. In Puri we have Krishna's heart. It is beating till date, and that is not made out of black flesh. It's made out of metal. That's what has been in one of the stories is being told, and it is being preserved in the wooden form of the deity there. So that's why the gods in Puri is made of wood, and they change once in 12 years or something like that. So I don't know how much you know about that. So that's what was the latest update I had on that. So saying Krishna's heart was something like chakra, whatever we have, no, he has the chakra in hand. So something like that. He has a metallic heart. That's what they say, and nobody sees that through their eyes. It's they because there's a light which is coming there, and it multiplies. When any light or anything falls on that. So that's why they may do it in the dark itself. So I don't know how much information you know about that, ma'am. Krishna's heart was made up of a metallic.
I have heard. I have heard many things. Like even I try to understand with a very logical way, but I have not seen, so I cannot say anything about that. But we have heard this definitely as a legendary stories. They come to us from our grandma and mother. They have also told us about this, and there's so many things like as I said about the Vimanas and all. Definitely, they can imagine that, and also they can also have that. Supposingly during those times, if they had this Pushpa Vimana, So it is almost like on the Chagos Lachadev Ridge where the magma was also coming out, and if you remember that Hanuman is going and suddenly a, a tarka comes up or some kind of a mountain comes out of the sea. So those were the phenomena. Those are the natural phenomena, and something like if you had heard about a mud volcano which is coming, which came out near Karachi. For a day or two, it was visible, and again it went back. So these few are the natural phenomena that was happening during Ramayana times also, and that was given name and that was given an entity. In our culture, we give so much of so much of live entities. You know, the celestial nymphs, apsaras, and Gandharvas, likewise. So we take them as living entities also, but they are actually they are astronomical also, as well as some kind of a phenomena that was happening. But now we are not able to correlate it with that scientific phenomena. So those were the things that was happening during that time. In fact, some fire kind of a thing also could have had happened on on the Lanka island, which is now no more there on the equator, on the longitude of Ujjain. But there was kind of there should be a kind of landmass, but some kind of a thing happened, and due to the eustacy or due to the ocean rise and things like that, or some crust must have been slipped away or something like that. If only if some kind of research and explorations are done, then only we will come to know to the proper truth about that area, because that Aryabhatiya in Aryabhatiya mentions 16 times Lanka. In Surya Siddhant, 12 times Lanka comes. So it cannot be a hypothetical place. So there's so many things uh, which we want to take it as a truth, but we need to explore that through the angle of science, with the help of scientific angles also. So that thin line is always lost. So if you watch my one of the videos about Agastya crossing Vindhya, so it was not physical Agastya who was crossing Vindhya. So in Parashar Tantra, you come across that after crossing Vindhya, Agastya goes south and then rises and sets in south. So a physical Agastya will not rise and set in south in the ocean, but it is only Agastya, because of being a pole star, it was rising and setting in south. It was like circumpolar south of equator, but it was seen rising and setting in south uh, in India from Mahendragiri. So that is one reference coming in the Ramayana also, that Sugriva says in Kishkinda Kand, I think. He says that when you reach that Mahendragiri, at the end of the Mahendragiri, you will see Agastya, and you will see Agastya penning down on this land, and it will be seen until the end of the ocean. So that is how we got this clue that during Ramayana times it was two pole star condition. One was the Brahma Rashi Vishuddhasya Shuddhasya Paramashaya, that is Vega was the North Pole, and Agastya was the South Pole star. So near South Pole star, I should say. So these are few things where thin line is there and we have to understand. So until I or K.D. Abhyankar or someone else had read Parashar Tantra, they will not come to this conclusion. They will always say, no, physical Agastya was going south and then he reprimanded Vindhya Parvata not to grow high. And that is why. So much of the thing is astronomical in that story, but it has been assumed as physical. So likewise, there are many stories engraved in Ramayana or Rig Veda also. Many things are there, but we need to see through the scientific lens. We need to understand the culture of what Rig Veda was saying, what Ramayana is trying to say, with the help of geographical, geological, hydrological, oceanography, and other many sciences, flora and fauna. like why tigers are not there in Rigveda. So these kind of inquisitive things should come up, and we should try to understand through the lens of science. In that way, we can come near to the truth. In fact, I would say. So I just don't say that Vimana were not there. Definitely they can be there, because if there was a volcanic kind of a thing, and if the hydrogen or helium or sulfur or any kind of chemical was coming up, and Ravana was a very good alchemist, and he was also very good in Rasatantra. So he must have got a kind of a fuel for that Pushpaka Vimana. I don't disagree with that. Even you must have read that one of the Prajapatis, after many of the generations, Vaishravana also comes. So Vaishravana is Ravana's father himself. Mayasur, he is Mandodari's father. So it appears that many things were happening and we don't know, or now we don't have access to those scriptures which were burnt away, and which are now not in our reach to understand more in a better way. So, but many things happened here. We found zinc, we found copper, we were very good in chemistry. We were the first one, in fact, in the whole world who were best in chemistry, of course, in the metallurgy and other things. So, Sushruta Samhita, one of the finds which were quite debated on recently on Twitter and everywhere, in Bharati with Parishad also. Then I gave them the evidence that it was happening during 23,000 BCE. So now they are not saying anything. The refutations of people come up, but they don't come up after I sometimes present my view of understanding of the scripture. So for that reason, they always say that it is a pseudoscience. So we should not get blindfolded with that. At one point of time, at one place, we say that we were having Vimanas also, and we have 8 lakh years of uh, Ramayana's memory. And on the other hand, we are not able to digest that all the astronomy evidence is taking Ramayana to 12,000 BC, or Rig Veda to 24,000 BC. Kurukshetra first agriculture is happening around 26,000 BC. So that way we feel that, Indians are always on to the pseudosciences. So it's just not like that. We have to see through different lens, and with the truth, of course. That is how I would conclude this.
No, I have shared his channel's link, and Praveen Mohan's. And Praveen Mohan's channel. I request everyone to must join, subscribe to his channel, sure, because he is extraordinary. And Graham Hancock, he had found Dwarka under the city of Dwarka. You go and see, because we have a tendency to believe whatever white people have said instead of our own people or books or tradition. So go and watch that video, and I believe a few of you will go further in this field and study and find more evidence, try to find more evidences and bring it to the real world and prove them by putting your finger in their eyes. You see, look, these are the evidence. Prove them wrong if you can. So we will be very much proud of you. So
thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining. It was a wonderful session. We will see you after the lunch. It's a lunch break for an hour and 30 minutes from now on. And we will have a real experience of our heritage of devotional music, a real experience of that music. So please come back soon. So you will be listening that music. Bhajan session with all of you to take you to the other land. Okay? So
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.